Have you ever wondered about the current situation in Ukraine? Let's explore this pressing issue. The war in Ukraine has entered a new phase, with the heat of the conflict now concentrated in the east of the country. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recently stated that this war is entering a new, long phase and assured that Ukraine is prepared for it. He asserted that the Ukrainian military is stronger than ever and the country will not back down. In recent days, the Ukrainian forces have made significant strides. They have successfully retaken several villages in the south of the country, including Ivanivka and Potemkin. These villages are located in Kherson Oblast, one of the few areas of Ukraine still under Russian control. However, the situation remains tense and volatile, as Russian forces continue their assault on civilian areas. The city of Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine has been subjected to relentless shelling, resulting in the unfortunate loss of at least 5 lives and injury to several others. Despite these challenges, international support for Ukraine continues to pour in. The United Kingdom government has announced an additional £1 billion in military aid to Ukraine. This aid includes anti-tank weapons, air defense systems, and ammunition. Similarly, the United States government is providing an additional $300 million in military aid, which includes artillery, ammunition, and drones. The US President, Joe Biden, has reiterated America's commitment to supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. He has assured that the US will continue to provide Ukraine with the military assistance it needs to defend itself. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has also echoed this commitment, stating that the US is working with allies and partners to impose severe consequences on Russia for its war crimes. Despite the gains, most of the Donbas region remains under Russian control, and the war's end remains uncertain. As the war in Ukraine continues, how is the international community responding? The response from the international community has been varied and multifaceted, with several nations stepping up to provide Ukraine with much-needed military aid. The United Kingdom, for instance, has pledged an additional £1 billion in aid. This support package includes anti-tank weapons, air defense systems, and ammunition, all vital resources for a country in the grip of conflict. Across the Atlantic, the United States has also made a significant contribution. The US government has announced an additional $300 million in military aid to Ukraine. This aid is not only financial but also material, including artillery, ammunition, and drones. These resources aim to bolster Ukraine's defensive capabilities and provide them with the tools necessary to protect their sovereignty. In addition to providing material support, the United States has also been vocal in its political backing of Ukraine. President Joe Biden has affirmed the United States' commitment to supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. He has made it clear that the US will continue to provide Ukraine with the military assistance it needs to defend itself. Echoing the president's sentiments, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has stated that the US is working with allies and partners to impose severe consequences on Russia for its war crimes. This suggests a commitment to a more punitive approach towards Russia and a promise to hold them accountable for their actions in Ukraine. Yet while the international community's support is undoubtedly vital for Ukraine, it is worth noting that this is a complex and evolving situation. The efforts made so far are commendable, but the path to a peaceful resolution is far from clear. It will require not just military and financial aid, but also diplomatic efforts and negotiations. The international community's support is crucial for Ukraine, but it remains to be seen if these efforts will lead to a peaceful resolution. Beyond the battlefield, what are the human consequences of the war in Ukraine? It's a question we cannot afford to ignore. The war in Ukraine isn't just a geopolitical struggle or a military conflict. It's a humanitarian crisis, with millions of people displaced from their homes, their lives uprooted in unthinkable ways. Imagine for a moment the city you call home suddenly transformed into a war zone. Your neighborhood, once filled with the sounds of children playing and the hustle and bustle of everyday life, now echoes with the chilling sounds of gunfire and explosions. Your home, your sanctuary, is now a battleground. This is the grim reality for millions of Ukrainians. As the war rages on, countless individuals are being forced to flee their homes in search of safety. Mothers and fathers carrying their children, the elderly, the young, all leaving behind their lives, their homes, their memories. They are not just numbers on a page. They are individuals with stories, dreams, and hopes for a peaceful future. But amidst this despair, there are glimmers of hope. The international community is stepping up, providing much-needed humanitarian aid. Food, medicine, shelter, basic necessities we often take for granted, are being delivered to those affected by the conflict. But the scale of the crisis is immense, and the need is great. Every day, aid workers, volunteers, and Good Samaritans put their lives on the line to deliver this aid, to bring a measure of comfort to those whose lives have been turned upside down. Their courage and dedication are a beacon of light in these dark times. However, humanitarian aid is not a solution to the war. It's a lifeline, a vital one, but it cannot replace the need for peace. The international community must continue to press for an end to the conflict, for a peaceful resolution that respects Ukraine's sovereignty and the will of its people. As the war continues, the humanitarian crisis worsens, underscoring the urgent need for a peaceful resolution. This isn't just Ukraine's battle. It's a global responsibility, because in the end we are all human, deserving of peace, safety, and a place we can call home. We've covered a lot of ground today, so let's take a moment to reflect. The war in Ukraine has entered a new, protracted phase, with the front lines now concentrated in the east of the country. Despite the Ukrainian military's valiant efforts and recent gains, the Russians still hold sway over the majority of the Donbas region. The international community, led by the UK and the US, has responded with additional military aid, underscoring their commitment to supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The US in particular is working with allies to impose severe consequences on Russia for its actions. However, the human toll of this conflict remains heart-wrenching, with millions displaced from their homes. While the international community continues to provide humanitarian aid, the need for a peaceful resolution becomes more urgent with each passing day. As we continue to monitor the situation in Ukraine, we must remember the human cost of this conflict and the urgent need for peace.